What's in the Bucks? Presented by Sure It'll Be Grand.
And welcome back, everybody, to Sure It'll Be Grand, and more specifically to What's on the Box, and even more specifically, what's going on with Andor. Which is not a planet. That should be a tagline. Andor. It's not a planet.
I don't know. I like the what's going on with Andor. This sounds like the fun. That makes it sound like now it's changed to the fun TGIF show instead. That they,
it's kind of like very like 70s, 80s sort of American soap. What's up with Andor? And they just all walk around happily. What's up with Andor? I'm gonna blow up a Death Star. That's up with Andor. Copyright, anyway. But yes, welcome back. We are on episode 5, I believe. And this show likes its slow burn. It's very fair to say. And I think... Right. Okay, so I don't want to compare it again too much to Rings of Power, but a lot of people have kind of talked about Rings of Power being slow and nothing really happening and all this kind of stuff. And I'm kind of against that in both these shows. I'm like, we don't need everything to happen. Right. Like it can be a slow process. We like people who say, "Oh, I get bored." I understand. Look, this is television. This is mainline television as well. This is not niche television that people go out of the way for. So the general public just wants to sit down, enjoy their hour of TV, and relax, and be entertained. But this show, I suppose, again, Rings of Power are both kind of like, hey, no, we're going to tell our story. We're going to take as long as we can. Because, again, not so major action in this.
I think, it looks like we're establishing a kind of trend where it's like you go 2 episodes of build up. Third episode is action. So 1, 2, 3. So we had, 4th episode now is, build up. 5th episode, build up. Likely next and it feels like the way this ended. Next episode should be heist.
Yes,
right.
So it should be. It seems to be very close to the heist,
that, and that should match up with its 12 episodes, I believe. So it should match. They kind of can do the same thing of build up, action, build up, action. Yes. I feel like we're probably going to see that for the rest as well.
Yeah. So it kind of starts with Andor waking up from just sleeping. He shook awake and he realizes all his shit has gone. And it looks at first like the entire camp is empty as well. And just like, it almost gave me the kind of nightmares of like when you were a kid and there was a school trip and you didn't wake up in time and it's just, oh, where is everything? But I think Andor is a little bit more complicated than a 6-year-old Daniel Skorka in school.
We turned it into Home Alone. They all left him.
And now he has to defend himself against the entire empire with booby traps. But and I'm sorry for folks. I'm starting to learn all the names. Don't take it as a disinterest that I don't know all the names at times. It's just I'm usually bad at names. But he gets up and he goes over to one of the guys who has his stuff. What's his name? Skeen. And he has some interesting tattoos. And I'm sure you have a few facts there. The first tattoo is the one on the chest.
Yep. As he points out, it calls it and what Andor recognizes as it calls it crate head, relating to the crate dragon, as we saw in Mandalorian, as well as we've seen. They've been bringing that into the history more of into the lore, is showing us crate dragon, not just the skeletons anymore.
Yeah. And I kind of want to say one thing I really like about those kind of tattoos, like they almost look barcodey, like it's, and it kind of makes sense because Star Wars, the universe, it's kind of regressed in technological advancement. It's still hyper advanced compared to, let's say, us. And it's interesting that like cultural tribes and gangs who would design their own logo in a very digital world would design stuff that looked like barcodes. Of course they would, you know? I mean, if you really want to think about it, Star Wars is not unrelated to cyberpunk. You
was
know?
exactly it. Yeah, it gives that that aesthetic, and as well as that mentality and
Yeah.
things.
And he has a
So yeah,
tattoo.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
That was a really
I
cool
like
tattoo.
it. Yeah. He has a tattoo on his arm as well, which looks like an upside down claw. What's that about?
Yes. So as Andor called it, he said he goes by the hand. So what this looks like we're referencing here, this we might be getting probably maybe some more lead up to where we're going to be seeing more Thrawn, because by the hand is a reference of Empire by the hand, or Empire of the Hand. I think it depended on which where you go, but basically
continuity or whatever it is. Yeah,
right. That was something that I believe Thrawn did. He not run it, I believe, or I can't. But exactly, he was somewhat behind that part, which is going into the outer regions, into the unknown regions, and ruling over there and rounding people up, as he even mentions that he goes with where were you? He was like Sippo Youth Center when he was 13.
And I think keep in mind now, Thrawn is around in the Empire at this stage. Like he came around quite early when the Empire started being set up. I'm not going to give too many spoilers because I genuinely would recommend people read up on Thrawn and his story. We're not going to spoil stuff.
Well, we're already into the. If you've seen Rebels, you already know he's because this timeline right now where we're right at
exactly. And it's still exactly. He's about, and Thrawn really did show up like 6 months after the Empire kind of set up. It was he was very early there in the books, but fantastic. I'm currently going through Ascension. I love Thrawn. Thrawn's just an amazing character.
Oh, he's one of my favorites.
It's like evil Sherlock Holmes.
God, yeah. That's what's funny. I love it to take that side trip. It's like Thrawn. If anybody hasn't read any of the books by Timothy Zahn, please read them. Please read any of them.
Yeah.
It's one
legacy
of those,
or not, they're good.
Yeah, I'm like you want to not like him because he's Empire. Well, or I say you maybe want, unless you are prone to that. If you are prone to that, then you're really gonna like him. But the fact of him being, like you said, it's like he's an Empire Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And the deduction he does, the one particular book I just read was Treason, and that one had a really awesome way he deduced how to battle one of the antagonists. And it was a really brilliant way of he did it, and so I love that kind of description.
One thing I love about Thrawn is that every apparent mistake he makes is just a long-term plan.
Yes, he sets for it, right? Or even if he sets up if it's a mistake, it's either if it's not a mistake, it's a set of his, or it's that he's planned for that in the. If this doesn't go right, here's my back. So that's why I'm doing it this way. It can be, it might not be right, but here's how I can correct it.
There's this ongoing thing about Thrawn where people point out saying, you might be good at strategy, but you're terrible at politics. And I'm not yet at the point where that pays out, but I know damn well he is good at politics as well. And this is all, he means to look like he's bad at certain things. But this man knows his stuff, Yeah,
exactly. Early on, it was like I think he's just trying to figure out how humans work and how things work in the Empire.
Yeah.
And then as things go, you're like, too much time has gone on. He's too smart. He's just playing dumb with that.
Yeah.
But we digress.
We'll do a Thrawn video sometime. Yeah. Don't worry, we'd love to do that. But we digress. He's in the encampment. He gives out to him and said, look, he wants the stuff back. And he genuinely just doesn't trust him whatsoever.
They're both ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really can't blame him. He sees Andor. He just came in. He's a mercenary. It's interesting because this episode comes along and it goes on a bit later on when they're all talking. Says, no, I am a mercenary. Like, I'm paid to be here. And then they're all shocked. And I'm like, did you think he was just a mercenary that just decided to join and he has mercenary past? Because if you are so crap about people who used to be mercenaries, like, no wonder the rebellion is like dragging its heels. You're not even getting people in who know how to, for example, fly a thing you're trying to steal. We'll get to that.
Right. I think this whole episode really, I think it's setting up for something I'll mention later, but the distrust and the whole aspect of that, when they're like, oh, you're a mercenary, that was why they set up early on, right? When Luthen talks to Vel and says, you're a mercenary. I don't want mercenaries here.
Yeah.
You're like, really, guys? You need to be getting everybody you can. I understand it a bit, but
because you can be bought out and all that kind of stuff. But
right,
like, if you're really going to cut off any professionals, you're not going to do well. Just simple as. But yeah, we'll go into it. They have a little bit of an argument and all this kind of stuff, but eventually a temporary peace, even within this episode, begins. We see that the tech they're using is pretty old. It's basically analog.
I love to see the tech. Did you really the one tech that Nemec has?
The decoder thing, wasn't it, or something along the lines of that?
No, it's a Polaroid. It's an old Polaroid camera.
Oh, they just attached things to it, basically, did they? Oh, that's beautiful.
Polaroid camera.
But that's pure Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was very nice to look at anyway, but yeah, we kind of learned from him that the Empire is definitely replacing. That's why I found really interesting. The Empire is replacing all the technologies they can track and use, and that makes sense because if you look at the technology that was used during the Republic, and then just a few years later, just about everything shifted technology-wise, looks-wise. Everything was made to look like this is part of the Empire. Even the ships. I mean, you can see some of the DNA of Republican ships with Star Destroyers. You can. But all in all, like, they have all redesigns. So they're building technology from the ground up. Technology that they own, that they can control, and get rid of everything that's old. And he's right. It is a type of control over the entire population. I mean, this is probably why there's such a booming market for droids on the black market. Old ones are sold and all that kind of stuff,
Right. Well, it makes sense too, as well as you're trying to wipe out the Republic, right? So you want the control, and if there's any lingering, to help prevent the whole rebellion idea, or anything that happen, you're looking for making sure that you don't want any old communications, any ways of old communicate, to be used. You want the new stuff. You want new encryptions. You want tracking. You would think they would be a little with so much tracking, though, they would be better about that when the rebels do get a hold of some stuff.
Well, I suppose some of this stuff is just not technologically trackable. It's like literally just isn't capable to be tracked. Like whatever radio waves it's using, it might actually be in its lack of quality be a way of getting around it, we kind of then slowly learn that Andor has to become a soldier. He has to look like a soldier, he has to walk like a soldier, and Andor at first is a little bit like, this is stupid, I know how to do this, and it's kind of, he's pointing things out, and they're quite questionable. They make them, sort of walk in step down the line. It kind of just reminded me of like being a kid and playing soldiers, to be honest.
Exactly.
And we realized then Andrew's like, no, you should do it this way instead, and you should have the gun on his side because he's left-handed. And they're like,
well, we see out of that, between that and I can't remember, did that scene happen before or after when they called him over to look at to get the weight of to figure out when they were talking about how to get the weight entered on the ship?
I think the weight on the ship actually comes after, because it would make sense anyway. But we'll get to that.
So what I was trying to get to is, you see how he still has that very much like, you guys are just a ragtag. His distrust, in that direction is more of, you guys don't know what you're doing.
He's pissed off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's like, this, I'm gonna risk my life. As he even brings up later, he's like, his whole thing is he's risking his life, and he's gonna have to trust these people in that way. He's like, hell no, I don't. These guys are talk about ragtag. They barely holding together.
And like as you were talking, they were talking about the weight and the ship and how to like take off of it, and they didn't even know that. And they said, "Oh, we improvised. We figure it out." And he's just like, "Okay, I'm gonna fly." And just, "No, you're not." Yes, I fucking well am. Like he is not doing this. Oh no, please, no. He's just like, I'm not going unless I can fly. It's my life. You go for it.
I liked taking that aspect instead of just being like, I'm going to fly, and they're like, no, well then I'm just not going. Blah blah. He just flat out just kept going like, no, and like, boom. He put a stop right there and just said, I put my life on the line. I'm piloting. I know how to do this. Right. He let me know, and that was. I'm mixed about the whole scenario because they are showing more and more holes in the whole group. Right? This with them saying, well, we would have figured it out. It was really, you do know how important this whole thing is.
Yeah.
With what they're at least it giving so far.
Yeah.
And when they're just like, we would have figured it out. Would you really been taking that much risk? Why are you taking such a risk with this?
Especially
suicide type mission.
Yeah, especially with things like, the comet shower lasts for 7 minutes. They have a timed schedule. Do you now have time separate for figuring out stuff? Like, are you serious? I mean, you've literally said you're completely outnumbered. You have a very small window. And I mean, I guess it kind of comes back to what my point was last week. This is the common man. These are desperate people. This is not a well-formed militia. This is a thing sponsored by a dude that owns like an art history shop, and they're desperate to like figure out. I mean, they literally hired a kid to do like tech and dioramas. You know, like you don't get more desperate than that. For for a heist.
Right. So I mean, I guess maybe that, and is that what they're more just trying, portray is just their desperation.
Yeah.
It's just, it does seem like with Vel and the other gentleman's name, which I had written down, I just don't have it here. Terramin.
Yeah.
Terramin is the other guy's name. Is that they seem, smart enough, right? They are good at planning things.
Yeah, they're not completely. Yeah,
they're not. It's very obvious they're not complete soldiers. They've not had full on. They've not been in the Empire's military training or any of that. But they've got enough street smarts. They do have enough intuition and smarts to know here's things that you should do or what we should watch for. So I think that's the only thing that's a little like.
I think
I'm not as on board.
I get where you're coming from, but I think they know enough that they were picked to be part of this group.
They have their skills. They have their skill sets.
Yeah, they have certain skills. I don't think any of them are like experts on what they're doing. Like they have been around stuff like that before, and they can kind of figure it out. That's again, they're just trying to figure it out. But I also think, and Andor's realized this, they're not smart enough or like, educated enough on this that they don't realize how out of, out of that depth. Yeah, like how out of the depth they are about this project. And to Andor, it's very obvious because Andor has been basically doing this shit by himself, like most of his life. And I guess, but I understand why none of these are like experts and like know absolutely everything either, because I hate to mention this movie 2 episodes in a row, but Rise of Skywalker, when we had the final battle between the Emperor's ships, and it wasn't a giant army of ships that was from like the New Republic or anything like that. It was ragtag. It was farmers who had an old X-wing out the back. It was just normal people who heard the call and went, all right, I'm coming. And again, that's the whole thing. The whole thing with Star Wars is not necessarily that, we have a group of experts that can fight the Empire. It's more about some Sorry about that, folks. It's more about some ragtag people who have some abilities, but are very much like normies. They are very they've never went to the highest academia on these subjects. You find the odd person who helps with the rebellion. I think it was in Rebels. There's a ship designer that they find who's like the best ship designer ever, but and stuff like that. But no, I get where you're coming from, and I think they're doing it on purpose. They're trying to show that yes, the Rebel Alliance are the good guys, and they do win eventually, but it's not that well put together.
Right, which I guess it is showing probably what we're leading towards, and we'll discuss as about this episode as well. Why we're going to see the need more for like Mon Mothma and others who can help be leaders and help coordinate and things, right?
Yeah.
Make this rebellion actually work.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're going to be seeing. So yeah, I'm with you. I think fully on that.
We also see again Andor making clear he understands by body language alone who uses what hand, to the point, like for shooting, to the point that he says, "Oh, they're right-handed, but they shoot with her left." It was just like, okay, and they all kind of went, "Shit, he does know it. God damn, this guy knows his stuff." We have another cool TIE fighter moment. I think I'd say you felt that big time.
Man, that was definitely. I'm rewatching that. I need to rewatch that. Again. I'm going to turn on the surround set. I need that. That was the bass. I mean, even on my small speaker bar, the bass out of that one, of the TIE fighter going by, I was like,
yeah.
Oh,
and also give you such a bully thing, because the guy, the TIE fighter, he's just going like, I'm going to mess with these weird farmer lads, and just like, and it's terrifying. It genuinely is. I mean. And he doesn't care. Like half that crowd could have had their eardrums burst, and he'd be just like, haha, and fly off.
Right.
I also like that you can literally see the TIE fighter at first just flying by, and you see it slightly dip to look towards, and then it moves on, and then it comes back around. And it's just like, it feels bully like again. It's like where someone feigns to punch you, you flinch, twice flinching. It's that kind of mentality.
That was
yeah. But the young lad makes the point that don't worry, everyone expects an attack from above, or something along that. No one expects attack from below.
Yep.
And I guess that's the whole idea of the rebellion. It is the victory of the common man. It's not some grand lord coming out and say, I'm gonna fight against you. Nothing's even about the Empire versus the Rebels.
Yeah, it's not in relation to Rings of Power, right, or anything Tolkien. It's like, there's no king of men that is coming through to stand everybody together and fight. This is pure ragtag, right? But that's always been, it's going back to what the spirit of Star Wars is, right? It's what Lucas intended, is that yes, that there's good and evil, good triumphs, but that it is the common man. It is just that's rooted in, and not anything more than that. So
it's also like we were talking about the common man. Like when I think of the common man in the Rebels, it's a lot of times the rebels. Yes, some of them went off to Imperial University to learn how to fly and all, but a lot of them are just old pilots, and their deaths in the original trilogy matter, even though you only know them as names. Like you're looking and these are just ordinary people being shot down. You see them. The things blown up behind them, is like, it matters. They're not just invisible, like professionally trained pilots. I don't know. Again, we're talking about like the core foundation of what I love about Star Wars. Like it's you could have Star Wars obviously just be a Western or a World War II pilot. So, and it would have the same sincerity, the same meanings. Yeah, of course, the Force doesn't work, but like, let's say Luke was in a World War II fighter pilot, and instead of having Obi-Wan saying, use the Force, Luke, he'll just remember something Obi-Wan told him once about calming down. It's built like that. And
right.
Go on.
No, I was gonna say, well, it's funny because you're naming exactly those are the things that did inspire it, right? It was, old westerns have inspired it throughout
Yeah,
its time, right? And then Kurosawa films, and samurai, and
absolutely. Yeah.
then as well as even the actual fighting tactics and looks of things, right? Inspired by actual footage of
Oh,
World War
like the
II,
original
right?
cut of Star Wars was sliced in with actual plane footage of World War II.
Yeah,
Like, this is genuinely
right.
a thing, you know?
Right. So that it was the mentality. So yeah, like, and so I think it was that's one of the things that has made it so cool. What made it relatable, it was what we enjoyed about it is it's been injected with based on real things.
Yeah, we're
Right.
connected
Things
to
we're
it.
familiar. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
connected to. So we're familiar with it. So we can make this jump that we are going to this, fantastical place, so to speak, because
yeah,
it's space and it's sci-fi and all this stuff, but it's grounded in enough reality and enough things that we know and familiar with. So now we don't have that big that so much of a space between us of needing to be able to jump to what we're seeing, what we're believing, or what we're getting used to. We already are familiar with enough of it. So now he can add in, here's what's unique, here's what's special, here's the sci-fi. And that's what made it. I think
yeah.
that's why, especially with the original trilogy, that's why it's successful. That's what made it work.
I
That's
mean,
what's forgotten, I think, in a lot of things when they're doing sci-fi. They make that jump to being so crazy and wild, and it's like
yeah,
the idea is kind of cool, yeah, but how you execute it, you need something to
yeah,
help ground us. Otherwise, if it's such a far leap, we can't. That's too far for
yeah.
some people.
And I think most of the popular sci-fi kind of tries that. I mean, it's the same with Dune, right? Dune
Mhm.
is more set on medieval lordship and King Arthur sort of mythology. There's a
Very
lot of
much.
that in it. It's not cowboys and it's not World War II, but it's set to high epic fantasy, you know?
Yeah.
But again, I see Star Wars as a more personable thing, for sure. And I love Dune.
Right.
Like, I thought the new Dune movie was outstanding. I'm looking forward to the sequel. Big time. Gorgeous movies. But yeah, but let's continue. So the T-Fighter flies by, and sorry, I forgot the guy's name again. The fella that wasn't the biggest fan of Andor comes up behind him, and
Skiing.
yeah, and he gets a sky shard or sky whatever. It's the thing that they put in kyber crystals. They put into the lightsabers. That some people, especially in modern Star Wars, seem to have almost as a religious significant thing around their neck. We see it in Mandalorian as well. Like, and we actually see it. Like, we see it throughout Andor. We even see it in Andor at the beginning. His mother has it in her cockpit, hanging from the top of the car. And like, if you ever been like in a very Catholic person's car, you know the cross is going there on like some rosary beads. You know, like that's it's the same vibe again. And we get these kind of feel totems. I mean, for some reason they really made the Han Solo dice very important in Star Wars at one stage. I still wonder why they pulled that out of nowhere, but whatever. But again, it's this whole, because his thing is chance. It is rolling the dice and chance. But yeah, we realize like this thing is like 30,000 credits. It's worth a ton. And this is when the big reveal comes along saying, hey, yeah, I am a mercenary. I'm being paid for this job. And they'll go, oh, I thought you believed in this. Is like, okay. I mean, he never said that. I mean, I think the young lad kind of implied that he should be, but like he never said it.
Well, I think that's what they're used to. Well, especially with the young guy, right? Is thinking that anybody who's joining us, that nobody's going to be just doing this for money, right? Each one of them has a personal story, a personal reason behind it. And who would just be doing this for money? No, this is for the greater good, so to speak, right?
Yeah,
that's what's in their minds, and that's what they're expecting. So I think that's what they're showing. Like,
they're idealists. That's what we're learning,
right? That's where they
they're idealists they think they can beat the Empire because they are good people, and they're idealists in that they think mercenaries are bad and shouldn't be part. They're not thinking of realizing this is a long-term war. And you better start acting as a nation, really. You need to. It's the same with, like, when during the not the Civil War, the War of Independence in America. Like, there was a government set up by the American side trying to get independence. There was a budget. There were experts there. This is how these things work. It's nice and all that they think, yeah, we can get the money and all that. But I really wonder, like, this group seems so secluded. Like, are they even part of the rebels, or are they like a small faction of the rebels? Because we hear it from, again, folks, please don't take I'm forgetting the names as it disinterests, but the shopkeeper we know who owns the art history and all that, he kind of makes a point, like, what's the difference between mercenaries, rebels, all that. He says he sees as all one thing. So I think in his mind, it's just a smattering of resistance that's good enough for him.
Well, that got brought up, I believe, in the beginning of Rebels as well, right? That there's different cells, different things, and it's only been recently now finally they're getting more banded together by Fulcrum, and others who are leading them finally. But that there always has been these small little factions. Yeah. These things have been brewing and happening.
We see it in Obi-Wan as well,
right? And right there as well. And so it's funny you bring up about how it's a lot like with American independence, and in that's exactly what I was starting to see. Actually, there's a couple of references here that very much remind me of, well, already, we know, especially with the original trilogy where we had, it's very obvious they're doing like the whole British Empire type thing with baddies,
Look, it is American independence basically in Star Wars.
Right.
That's what it is.
Right, so it already kind of feels like that, but this was very much reflecting that type of thing with the way of you have your militia that are just farmers and whatnot. And there's a later scene as well that we see with the Empire's coming in, and it was very reminiscent to me of British when they were coming in initially, and before war was really breaking out, before it was declared, that they were coming in and they were just taking people's homes and saying, well, we need to commandeer it for Lord Commander here, and this is his spot now. We see that in this episode. We see the Empire now is coming into the planets now that they're kicking out the, as you call it, the McDonald's Security Corporation. They're coming in now and they're just saying, oh, we're clearing out this hotel. This is going to be your office now. Yeah. And it's like, oh, shit. And I was like, man, that's exactly like they're being very reflective about how the British Empire, worked things. So that's what's being reflected here.
And we kind of even see it on a more small scale. The shrine that's on the planet is being used basically, I imagine, just where soldiers go to drink and have target practice. Like, it just seems like a hangout spot. Like, that's the vibe I'm getting. And
they don't care.
Yeah, and the guy we have on the inside, the Imperial, we find out why he's there. He lost his wife, and he started realizing that, hey, I don't like the Empire, actually. Never mind.
Right.
And I love those little lines that we all have our own rebellions. Yeah.
Yes, we all have our... This one had some really good lines with everyone has their own rebellion, as well as in the beginning when Skeen and Andor are talking, and Skeen's comment about the axe forgets but the tree remembers.
Yeah.
So this one really had some good lines that I loved about it, and it really showcased it. This one brought about some interesting ways of showing why some of them, explain with a few more of them about why they're here, right? It's personal reasons. Skeen mentions about why he had a brother who I liked. This was a good one where when after their scuffle and whatnot, his he goes, this is the closest to an apology you're going to get.
And Andor's like
explaining why he is.
Andor's okay with that though. It's like, it's good enough for me.
I love that. Yeah. But I liked that they took, instead of just saying like, oh, the Empire came and just slaughtered him, it was, no, they killed him in his spirit, that with what they did, and he committed suicide. And I was like, man, they're taking this is not family friendly Disneyfied Star Wars.
Even Star Wars. Like, I don't remember ever there being suicide mentioned. No.
I
I have faint memories of characters kind of resigning themselves to a fate of where they might die. For example, like Rogue One, and they're hugging each other and they said, "There's no way out."
But that's different than actual. This was hopelessness.
Yeah.
Which I think this is it's again, it's subtle. It's a subtle reference, but it's bringing back around why with what do we have? Hope.
Yeah.
And here they're showing that like people didn't have hope. What happens?
Yeah.
And they're dead. So I like again, it's these little things that they're adding in this show. It's more adult, it's mature, but it's also it's adding a lot more feeling into it. It's giving it so much depth.
Yes, absolutely. So sorry, again, what's the kid's name again?
Oh, Nemec.
Nemec. Now he's quite naive, but he's basically like the closest thing I say to it is like he's basically writing like his first socialist propaganda piece. Like he very much is there.
His manifesto.
His manifesto. That's the one, not propaganda. Manifesto. The arguably manifesto is just a propaganda or name. But anyway, never mind. Let's not get into politics. But like he is naive. He comes off as the kid that has ideals and thinks about this. I mean, honestly, he reminds me of, if you look into Irish history, especially, our War of Independence, a lot of like the rebels were, university students who had quite haughty ideas and thoughts of how a republic should be. And, they either grew into a more developed and adult mind frame or were shot by the British. Anyway,
there's a common theme here about nations' independence and why they're doing it. I can't put my finger on it.
But you can see he is an idealist, but as much as we can mock kids at that age being idealists, he's also in the trenches. He's not hidden away on Coruscant saying, "Oh, the Empire is so evil and terrible." But he's not. He's there on the ground floor, and I want to find out more about his past. I want to know I want to see if it's more than just like him saying, "This is wrong. I want to do something about it." I feel like he learned some lessons that we don't know.
Yeah,
yet.
and that which is what's making it there when they show that with his he's smart with the tech and he's very likable. He's got his manifesto, and the whole time right afterwards, I was like, oh shit, we're gonna see him get killed. Yeah, we already kind of had that feeling because he seemed like that kind of character, but this is just adding to especially because he talked with Andor about it and whatnot. Yeah,
he's the epitome of the death of innocence. Like he will be like he's the metaphor of the death of innocence. Like he'll die, and then there is no more light-hearted. Like, oh, we'll be okay. No, that's out of the window. That's who I see it. I see he's got Andor's going to see him die, or he's going to behold. He's going to be that moment. The Empire commander, we see he is really trying to walk the line. He's tiptoeing the line so much that he's saying, "Oh, I want everyone to be inside," because he wants the place to be free that they can sneak in. But then they're like, but at the same time, do you think it's like double thinking, like making the soldiers go, "Oh no, please, sir, let us have everyone go out," so the place is empty? Like, is he? Yeah, like it's good double play, but
we were seeing him being smart. I think that was a way of showcasing that Lieutenant Gorn, why he's who he is, and that he's very functional and critical, not just because of his access, but here's him properly critically thinking through. And how do you get people to be outside, like instead of just going, "Oh, everybody should be out because of this." No, for this area where I really need it to be cleared out, I'm gonna make it I'm going to be forcing people there and making this really sound like just shitty and crappy because you already know this place is, as they even say, they're like this command sucks. If this post sucks. If you're here, the only thing that's good that as they even said, if anybody knows is good is this show, this natural occurrence. And if we can't see it, it will do morale. And so he's like, well, all right, fine, but I expect the day after that everything's cleaned up in here.
But he says on this as well, he says, "I hope you tell everybody that they're very lucky this happened. Again, protecting himself
Exactly.
again and again and again. Yeah, it's really bloody clever.
It's psychology, the psychology of the reverse psychology of it, and I love when he turns, you see that look of his on his face, like it worked. He knew.
But I'd say he
was
was panicking all the way through that. He's very refrained and like in control, but he's definitely in the back of my mind going, "Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God," you know.
Take the bait. Come on.
Yeah. Do you think this episode showed us the second appearance of Death Six in the Star Wars universe? Now, you don't. It's there for a glimmer of a second, but you know when he's on top of the dam, and there's one of the soldiers, and he kind of has his arms over it, and there's a little white thing in his hand that the moment he talks, he drops it down and turns around, and I'm just like, that's a death stick. That's a fucking death stick.
I missed that bit. Oh, that probably is. That'll be a good one.
I mean, it's definitely the kind of joke about like if you're on top of your school's building and you're trying to smoke but being caught and you drop it when the teacher, it's that vibe as well. So folks, tell me if it was, because I swear there was a little bit of white in his hand that he dropped very quickly, but please let us know.
Yeah, I'm rewatching that scene. I gotta see. I love that.
Okay, we'll go over to what Mothma and Luthen are now up to.
Yes. Well, I think Mothma. Should we be calling her Mom Mothma?
Yeah. I guess. Well, I suppose Ma's already in there. She has the Irish part of mother covered. Mothma. I knew someone in the school who literally just in the most aggressive, grating way used to call Ma. I was like, Ma. But we meet Mothma. We meet her daughter. We also get her husband also says, "Hey, why weren't you telling me about this foundation that you're a part of now?" And she's just like, because you're not the charitable kind and you're not interested in that kind of thing."
Right.
Yeah.
We're seeing a setup here of seeing how we see the introduction of her daughter, which was I honestly didn't know about that they had any children.
No.
But seeing how she's more than just rebellious teenager. It seems that there's definitely disdain towards her mother.
Yeah.
That definitely the parent that is kind of pushing on. He's not doing anything to help. He's making it worse.
And she kind of makes a point that everything's about you, Mom, all the time, which I thought was a nice nod to basically she thinks she's under siege. Of course she thinks everything is about her because she has to pay attention to anything that's coming towards her way. I'm kind of surprised she's doing this, though, while she has a kid nearby. Because if anything goes wrong, a kid is fucked.
Exactly. So that was something that I was surprised about as well, especially if we just see her acting kind of like the prudish mom, but it's like, but you're running a rebellion, or you're involved in a rebellion. At this point, we're not there. They really haven't shown what she's really behind. She's just involved, not necessarily running things, just involved. And
I think she's basically probably taking money and sending off to any groups she can. That's basically her job,
right? And so you have a daughter. Now you're endangering her. I understood fine before with the husband that you're like, meh, but you got a daughter. There would be a lot more concern, or is that why she is trying to be? Is she being somewhat pushing in that she's trying to protect her if she keeps her separate, so that she can't be used, right? Or she can't any of that. But who knows? But we're seeing much more hints of with Perrin, with him, asking her about this whole, I've heard about your foundation. It seems a probing kind of thing, or either probing or I know that you're up to something, and give her more. I feel like we're getting that he's totally
right.
Either bought off by the Empire or something. He's that's what he's there for.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an element of that. But here's the thing: I think Mothma is probably a million times smarter than he is.
Oh yeah.
Now again to Mothma in general, I guess her credit, but just more in lining of what we know her. We actually don't know much of her personification in any visual media, because we haven't
Right.
really seen it all that much. She is high up in the rebels, and she talks a bit. But like again, like even the actress herself said, she never deep dived into this character because there wasn't that much for her to deep dive into because she wasn't doing that much. But I assume, you know, how this kind of media goes, that she is probably the smarter one, and I wonder if she's playing some 4D chess by making her daughter actually disdain her, to be more on her father's side, for her father to clearly mingle with Empire people, to be trusted, so that if something bad did happen and they had to stay in the Empire, they wouldn't be looked at as enemies. The Empire might go like, oh no, the daughter and the father are clearly weren't part of this.
Right. Well, that's what I was saying. Yeah, that whole like that's why she's kind of it's encouraging a separation, because otherwise it helps to help protect the child, at least, so that anything goes wrong or anything gets exposed, then it's unlikely that anything will happen with their kid, because they're like, oh look,
that's a very strong character. If this is true and she's doing this purposely, trying to create a divide between herself and her daughter, that's wonderfully deep, because she must be, as a mother, be suffering. Like, I hope it's not just one of the things, oh, she's just a woman that is wrapped up in her own affairs and then realizes she turned her back on her daughter. No, I rather like to imagine she is suffering dramatically because her daughter is being distant by herself, and she's doing it on purpose. Like, that is some proper sacrifice.
I feel like that's, and maybe we're reading way too much into it, or maybe that's intentionally why they are so far, at least. Of course, we're still we're not even halfway yet. You know, they may reveal more about it, but I think keeping it the way they are allows that we can think either way, right? That either she's just really wrapped up in it, or she is being. And I lean more towards it's a sacrifice she's being, because we know she is a strong leader, or as we see later, right? And later on, we know she's a strong leader, and she didn't get that way by just letting emotions get a hold of her. She's very strong in leadership.
Or she might even look at it in the way of, look, I'd rather my daughter hated me and lived in a better galaxy than my daughter loved me in a corrupt system.
Yeah.
You know, that's tough and strong and very impressive for this is brave storytelling. This is the kind of storytelling we don't really get in Star Wars often. I think it's some really impressive writing, if that's the road they're going down. I hope it's the road they're going down.
We're definitely hitting that. We're speculating. We're diving off, and this is where we'd like to see it. But so I'm hoping if they don't go that way, they don't go the other. Like you said, don't do the old she's just so wrapped up in, at what cost is she doing this? Or, you know, she's lost herself. It's like, nah. I think they know that they need to keep Mon Mothma as a strong woman, as a strong character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And I think you've always felt like there's an aura about her with as little, like there's not much about her, but there's a
regalness, there's a strength. She's her back is straight and her shoulders are square.
Yeah.
And she doesn't lose her femininity either. Like, she's still very much a woman. And I've always seen her as a strong character. I'll be honest, I always got the regalness a little bit more, thinking like,
yes,
of course there has to be a special person who rules the rebels, not just like a common Joe. But again, we're clearly seeing here that she is in that position because she's the expert, not because of where she was born, all that stuff. She just has the connections and she knows what's needed to be done. But yeah.
So then,
Luthen, really,
as we go to Luthen, Now Luthen, we see finally get a few minutes with him here, and we see him in the his secret area, his secret man cave of rebelness.
Yeah.
Listening on the radio, look like I assume trying to listen on transmissions or Empire transmissions, or is that the radio he's keeping open for communications to the rebels?
Yeah.
But in either case, we see him being nervous, and as he says to his the woman that's with her, you know, in a
Is she
previous episode,
is she like a partner? Is she someone who works on him? Is she a romantic element to him?
right? Because there's very much like in this episode, this had more of a husband wife vibe with how she talked to him, right? It's that caring, but I'm ordering you around.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds bad when I say I'm ordering.
No, I guess you, but
more,
like, she's not afraid to tell him what he should be doing.
Right.
Yeah.
You're saying you said you would put that away.
Yeah.
This is, and like trying to be that conscious, you know, to being that, doing, you know, helping keep that balance. So yeah, it was interesting. Like, what's their relationship and what's her part in this? How deep into this is she? So
she definitely knows, I think, just about everything that's happening.
Oh, she knows everything.
And because she even knows things like, you've never been nervous before. So clearly, this is a Hail Mary throw as well. He knows this might go bad. And she makes a fairly decent point where she says, like, hey, look, if it works, great. If it doesn't, you'll never hear from him. You know, and it's just like very practical, cold, but I think in the environment they are, it's probably the smarter way to do this. Like, don't get hung up too much on the losses all that much. Like, they all signed up for this, you know, mourn and move on, and that's it.
Yeah, I love that line from when she said that, and of course his response being, "There's also if it works, this is going to kick off, you know, something, you know, even more." But yeah, I love that line. I was like, that instantly just elevated her. Like that's why I'm like, I want to know more about her now too, because I love that. Like, I love her character.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But yeah, again, this episode does the weird thing where they like just finish a sentence and finished. Credits. Yeah. I don't like this. I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like every single episode. I mean, this one, maybe not quite as bad, but it was still.
It still felt like, abrupt. Oh, is that it? Okay, all right.
I mean, I think at least this point, I got a little bit of a vibe of going, this is where they're gonna cut it, isn't it?
Yeah,
it did, but not out of because things felt. It was just knowing how they have cut things before.
Yeah,
this felt a little bit in that way. So yeah, that's still my really my only complaint about the show is who the heck is figuring out where to do the end points? It really is. Did they just record? Did they film this whole thing as just one long thing and then go back in and be like, try to figure out, all right, so how can we divvy this up in 45 and 15-minute chunks? We're gonna hit here and just boom.
Or they love The Sopranos.
They may be. They really love The Sopranos endings, you know? But
I think it was a good episode. It did feel like the last episode and this episode could have been made into one episode because some stuff was repeated. It was like, oh, we don't trust you. You're a mercenary. Oh, I am a mercenary, but I'm good at what doing. Okay, because he literally wakes up and says, "We still don't trust you." It's like, all right. So we go through this whole thing again.
Yeah,
like we even get the ship thing again. We get the ship thing as, oh, there's another ship in the Empire. It felt like a clone of the last episode. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah. I will agree there. Yeah, this could have definitely, both of the episode, these two episodes now in this whole building episodes here could have been condensed. We needed, if they wanted rather to keep this as two episodes that are both building, they should have added, they needed something else.
Yeah, this is
add in as information.
This is where I kind of mentioned the pacing thing at the beginning. This episode, I would not blame anyone for giving out about the pacing. I'd be like, no, I get this episode is the pacing is slow as hell here. I don't know why they did it, you know.
And it was a bit odd. The pacing was odd. It's slow. They had tidbit interjections, right, where we got that literally a few minutes here with Mothma, and then later a few minutes, and then that's it. There was nothing else being added aside from just those. Oh, she has a daughter. He doesn't like her. Oh, we see now, and that was about it. As well as that real brief moment back at ISB with Deidre, I think is her name. With that character, and that they're investigating still, just almost like that reminder. Hey, they're still investigating, and that was really random. That really didn't. I don't think that did too much there at all. That's one weak character that they're not doing anything yet. Right. Yeah. That might turn into the later half. That also that's going to be the bit, much more.
I have
The only other thing being with of course we didn't touch upon poor Cyril and going home to Mama who I was
let's talk about them.
expecting. I was expecting her at some point, like she looks like she should be taking off her flip flop and smacking him around.
There's very much like, and it's interesting because you see where he gets his thinking from. As much as he hates her, she's all about it's what other people see you as. It's all about engineering public perception. Like that's what she's about, and that's what he is about. 100%. Sure, he tried to break off and do his own path, but it's the same road, Yep.
So I think it was interesting to see that dynamic, and like you said, I think you picked up on it. So this is why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more of that, and watch as you see. So this is what breakfast in Star Wars is like.
Yeah.
With his blue Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah. And with his nice blue milk.
Yeah, once again,
it's weird again. Like I don't know. Like I think I used to watch New Hope and think they drank the blue milk just because that planet probably wasn't the best for dairy. Being a desert planet.
Yeah, exactly.
So some of the way I see like them, not like other planets have the blue milk. It's like, oh, it's just a choice. Is that it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is it maybe like a poor person's drink as well? Because she's not exactly flush with money,
Right. So that's what we're seeing, right? Yeah, because where have we really seen it? Yeah, there and Luke, on the farm. So yeah.
I'm interested to see where this show is going next week because I feel like the heist surely has to start now.
It has. Well, right. Well, I think we've seen they basically have everything ready. They're on their way to the place, right? So we've already established they're on their way. They've because we saw they burned they burned all their plans. So we know, and then they're walking towards it. So we've seen that. We've seen that Lieutenant Gorn has already set things up for their arrival, saying that it's supposed to be tomorrow. So yeah, I think we should be in tomorrow. So that's what we should kick off.
Yeah,
and hopefully we'll actually see, that actually turns into it's the full thing, right? The full mission, not it gets split up into part 1 of the mission and now part 2.
Would you be shocked if we got a cut from one perspective of the mission? That's like first we just get one perspective of them doing a certain thing, and then they're like at the very end of the episode saying where are the rest, what's happened, and then we get another episode from that point of view.
That could be, and you said that. Think about what happens. One of the things we didn't touch upon as they're approaching, as they're making their way to that base, right? What's her name? The other women, the 2 women, Vel and Sita, I think is her name. They break off, right? She said, Vel says, she goes, Terramin's in charge, and I'm going, and they're like, but it's never said like where's she going. And she's like, well, this is not goodbye. We'll be meeting up tomorrow or something like that. So it's like, well, where's she going? She's going off ahead of it. So the 2 of them going to, what's their role, right? So now they already do have a separation.
Yeah, and she also seems to like if they're like a little bit upset, like, oh, no goodbyes tonight, So like it. I mean, they did say in the first time we met them, this is a suicide mission, or at least it seems like a suicide mission. Right. And that's why no one would do it, and that's why the Empire feels safe.
Right.
But I think it's probably more suicide mission than, anything. I think she knows. Right. I think as scared as some of them seem, I think the ones with less bravado, like the one that healed Andor's wound, and he mentions you have the hands of a medic.
That's Cinta.
Cinta. I think they're more relaxed about the idea of this not turning out well for them. We look at Guy who's lost his brother, and I think he's terrified to die. He acts like he isn't, but he is. He doesn't want to die. He's scared of death. He's not going in there to self-sacrifice. I find that interesting because usually, I mean, again, the young lad as well. Folks, I will remember the names next week. I swear. he seems ready to die for his ideals as well. I think he
Right.
doesn't seem too scared. I think it's actually everyone with a bravado, or maybe those that actually understand this is like self-sacrifice is a lot more scary than they think.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. It's a very interesting dynamic that they're working with.
Yeah, I think this was some good character development and some insights that we're seeing with the Rebels side of things.
Yeah,
and it will be we'll see what unravels. I'm fully expecting next episode is going to be it's the heist. It's going to be people are going to die. I see this is going to be because we're going to be at the midway point. We're going to be at that. It's going to either it will fully fail and it's all pure escape, or it's going to be it will succeed but only be in the midst of it it's going to be that at a major cost, right? You're going to have the kid probably be dead. You'll probably have what I estimate is going to be obviously the Nemec will be killed. Geen will probably be killed too because he was the only other character really that they gave any kind of like where you could care about him.
Yeah,
Makes sense. He probably will die in there, and that you're going to see that Andor has to step up, right? He's already just said I need I'm going to make sure it's successful because I'm going to get killed otherwise. But here, this might be the whole because he's going to watch that they were watch them actually be killed. And they're going to they'll probably sacrifice themselves, or it will be the kid sacrifices himself to save Andor, and so it will just add to the I need to help these people. These people don't know, but look what they're willing to do. They're willing to die.
Yeah, what am I doing here? Like,
what am I doing? I'm doing it for money.
Yeah, they're willing to throw everything on the line to make a big difference, whereas I'm just cutting away bits of myself over time. It's back to that sort of thinking.
Yeah,
you know?
so I think we'll see more of that. That will help push Andor even more so into why he is serving the rebellion.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, let's again this episode. I think I don't want to say it's the worst episode. Because I think it implies that it's bad. I think this episode's been the one I definitely didn't connect with as much as the previous one because I think we did hit a lot of the similar beats already. But that's just my opinion on it. Arguably, this episode is better than the last one anyway, because we actually got character development and not just like everyone is kind of homogenized and says, we don't like you. Whereas this actually shows, what their drives are to an extent. Folks, I think we leave it there.
Yep.
Yeah. Folks, we hope you had a good time listening. We hope you had a good time watching the episode. Or if you didn't, please let us know why. Tell us what you thought of the episode yourself. Are you feeling a bit run down with the pacing? Do you want to accelerate? Do you think, no, television needs to start growing up and let slow pacing happen? Which is a very fair point as well. Let us know what you think. Also, I want to say we had like 200 plus listeners from the US in the last 2 weeks since David and I started doing the Andor stuff. Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Also, yesterday, in the last 24 hours, we had 600 Belgian people tune in. Thank you. Hello. Let us know why there were 600 of you who joined us. I have a feeling there might be some VPN playing around, but say hello. Big hello to any new listeners. Let us know how you found us, and thank you for giving us a chance. Anyway, that's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Have a good one, folks. Look after each other. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What's in the butt?